I finished this.
I don't know what happened. Sorry. Good. I'm sorry, Coach. Good. You're
Yeah, I
saying.
finished school year at Pamlico. After our season was over, I finished school year there in June, and then started here in Farmville Central in June, and went right from the summer to that 21 fall season. But it was rough, a bunch of reasons. But rebuilding team was really bad. I never had the same offensive line start 2 weeks in a row because somebody was sick or somebody had COVID or somebody was hurt. So
Right.
it was real. It was crazy. Yeah.
But yeah, look, that's it. We were in it. We were in it with you, buddy. You know what I mean? We actually were coaching together. Coach Shu and I were coaching together at the time, and believe me, it was a an eye-opening experience for some of the things that obviously we were dealing with. I mean, a lot of guys I think were dealing with some of that stuff, but going from two different programs within that too, I can't even imagine what it was like. You know what I mean? So we all dealt with that. Wild times.
Absolutely.
Coach, talk about your journey in football from when you were playing all the way through to this point. You've obviously had some success at coaching at the college level and now coaching at the high school level. Talk a little bit about that journey.
Well, starting, I played, graduated from Montclair High School, so 96. So this is actually 30 years since then. We're having a 30-year reunion actually this summer. But when we won the state championship in 96, went on and played at Virginia Tech, 97, 2000. I left there after 2000 season, transferred to the University of Delaware, played there, played defensive end there, started my whole senior year there at Delaware. Finished up there and went right into coaching. I always when people ask in interviews and stuff, and when I've had interviews in the past, or why I started coaching while I was at Virginia Tech, I'd come home whenever we had a break. And there's one time when we actually had, I don't know how, but we had time, I guess around Thanksgiving. And I came home and we still had, Pop One Little Leagues going on and like the A Leagues in Montclair, and went to see my little cousin practice. And when I went to his practice and seen what they was doing, the coach is still doing bull in the ring stuff and all. And at this time, been at I've been in that Division One program and been coached by really good Division One coaches. And I'm like, half the stuff they're doing makes no sense. I know some of the stuff that we did, but now I realize that it's not functional. As far as making you a better football player and transfer to the field. And I said to myself, and I'm probably like 19, 20 years old, I can do better than this. I think at least teach the kids part of the game. And at that time, my brother, well, then later, probably later after that. So that's, I guess, my first time I thought I might want to be a coach, but I never really gave a serious thought. I think where it really actually sparked is when I was home and my brother was a senior at Montclair, and one of his friends was over the house and played with him. He's a defensive lineman. I was defensive end. And I showed him some stuff what he do, pass rush wise. And his coach, who's same D line coach when I was in high school, Coach Bill Murray, who's a great guy. We were close. He also helped spark that interest, that light in me wanting to be a coach because he didn't have no ego. He's actually one of the best guys you ever want to be because he keep it real. He never beat around the bush with anything. But yeah, no ego about it. It's like, yeah, show him whatever you need to show. You've been where I haven't been. Playing Virginia Tech. I don't care. So showed him a couple drills and fundamental things to do pass rush wise. And probably a week later after they played a game that past Saturday, he calls me up. Oh, this was showing coach. Wasn't a coach. Then he called me Ron. This really worked. And I said, yeah, I know. Most high school linemen don't know how to block, or at least don't know how to block when somebody actually is using real pass rush. Because most high school kids, even I didn't. I just had a great motor. I didn't know how to pass rush, but I had 15 sacks because I had a good motor and I just played hard. But when I got to Virginia Tech, I realized I had no idea what I was really doing. So,
Yeah.
but that's when I started to realize I really wanted to be, I guess, a coach. When he came back to me, showed how excited he was that just little things I taught him made him a little bit better that season. So So went on from there. When I graduated from Delaware, like I said, by that time I knew I wanted to coach. I actually went back home. I obviously went to coach back in Montclair High School, but crazy that my head coach at the time, Coach Labita, said didn't have any room as a coach. I ended up getting a job at Montclair, and that had nothing to do with my degree. I knew I wanted to be a coach by then, but I had to get a job at Montclair High as a teacher's aide for a special education student that who just had just basically helping him out the whole time while I'm there. So I said, Coach, I don't care about being paid right now. I just want to start coaching. I want to coach. Didn't have a position, whatever. So I ended up with my linebacker coach, who was in his first head coach job, Joe Fisher, at Montclair Kimberly Academy. So he said, absolutely, come on over. And I started there coaching linebackers and coaching special teams. It's one of the things I think helped me in my career, and definitely where I am now, is playing at Virginia Tech and under Coach Beamer and see how special teams was handled and coached. And so that's always been a huge part of my philosophy and my beliefs in coaching football. I've always had a hand in special teams everywhere I've been. So Montclair Kimberly Academy, spent a year there. Went on from there. Still, I knew I wanted to coach college football. So sent out letters and to anybody I could think of. Went up to Montclair State to talk to Coach G in person. He said, basically, I don't have anything for you. I can't pay you. But the great guy he said, but I'll see what I can do. You could definitely come along and be part of the defensive staff. He did end up giving me a little stipend, like $1,000. And I was elated. Like I was ready to coach for free. Yeah. And he ended up giving me But I ended up being on defense staff, one of the best staffs I've ever been around. Coach Tyler Grester, I always tell people that he's probably the biggest, best kept secret in America as far as probably one of the best defensive coordinators, defensive minds in the country that no one ever know about, because he just stayed at Montclair State. He's happy with being where he was, but he's a really good coach. I learned a lot from him. And actually, Coach D, you kind of remind me of, it's the same features. Y'all look alike.
Yeah, well, shit, I played for him for 3 years. You know what I'm saying? So same gig. You know what I mean? I know. Believe me, I know. And when he was, I mean, look, he's out of it now, right? Obviously, I things happened or whatever. But like you said, long time. I mean, he was unbelievable, absolutely unbelievable. Like he was the world's best kept secret, because he knew it, and he had a fire about it, and it was, you know what I mean? Like that was how you did it. He coached the linebackers too, so that just doubled down on it. Coach G never had to worry about that side of the ball. That's for sure.
Absolutely, and he never did. Like and that's the other thing I learned, I guess, unconsciously about being a head coach, not micromanaging. Coach G, we have our staff meetings defensively, the long Sunday early morning, Sunday night, and he would only come if he came into the meeting. He was only asked, okay, what's the plan? And not like, what are y'all doing? And not not coming in and out there, just let him know what he's doing. Okay, prepare for practice. But Coach Aggressive, when I first learned how to break down film, especially defensively, I started out. I was a defensive guy. Started out defense, but he showed me how to break down film. When we still writing it on paper too. He showed me how to run 3-4 defense. Like at the time, I didn't know nothing but really even fronts playing at Virginia Tech, and I always thought just from video games and TV, like odd fronts got too many holes. But when I got to Montclair State, we were running the 3-4. We were doing a lot of slam, a lot of blitzing, and still gap responsibility stuff. And I learned that from Coach Aggressive. So, a lot of what I did defensively and my defensive philosophy moving on was because of him, from him. And then from there, I actually only left there because at the time I was 20, 22, 23, felt like I could still play. So I was still trying to get a chance to play professionally. I ended up playing in Arena League in Indiana for a year. So that's the only reason I actually left after the season, left Montclair State. But then after that arena season ended, mid-July, something like that, still wanted to get back and coach. So at the time, then my coach Joe Fisher, left Montclair Kimberly Academy, became the head coach at Belleville. Went on. So he said, look, you come stay with me, come coach Belleville, work on, see if you want to be teaching, whatever. But I knew I still kind of wanted to coach college, but I went there at Belleville. Ended up being defense coordinator there for. We didn't win a game, but it was a great experience because the kids played hard, especially when I ended up taking over defense. We had a bunch of games we were in, which was a little bit different than the year before when they was getting blown out a lot. Um, but like I said, still wanted to coach college, sent a bunch of letters out still after that season. And like this is way before Google. I mean, Google's around it, but way before there was no social media, tagging coaches, none of that stuff. I was literally typing up letters on the computer, printing them out, signing them, and mailing them weekly. Now, and I probably mailed anywhere from 10, 15 letters a week all around the coaches around the country. This is where I first discovered Football Scoop too at the time, and I was still and I was getting probably coaches now they probably don't know about AFM. I was getting I subscribed to American Football Monthly magazine, getting those every month.
Yep.
And everything. So
that was the only way to do it. That was the only way to do it back in the day. Was you literally were handwriting letters, and it was so much. I mean, even more so than it is today about who you knew, how you were getting your foot in the door, using whatever coaches or connects that you had. But that stuff took a lot of time. It's why the AFCA convention was such a big deal, because it was everybody in one place at one time type of stuff, right? Obviously now it's expanded with, now you could just freaking, there's job boards all over the place and that kind of stuff. But that wasn't the way back in the day.
Yeah, I think it's kind of saturated in that sense now. Now it's a lot more who you know, and once guys know guys and trust, they kind of stick with them. Whether I just said beyond whether they can coach or not.
Right.
That's probably a whole nother podcast, but just a little side note. I know a bunch. I know maybe a few high school coaches, and include myself, that can outcoach a bunch of college coaches. And I'm talking D1 level, but those guys D1 level because of who they know and they can recruit pretty.
Yeah, that's the big thing, the recruiting aspect, the connections, all that kind of stuff.
But because of that, I got one school hit me back, and that was American International College with Coach Art Wilkins. Went up there, interviewed. They liked me, allowed me to come on as defensive line coach, and start grad school. As I figured, I knew I wanted to coach college and stay in college at the time, and so I figured I'd just get a master's. So got that paid for there. Was coaching D-line there. And again, a lot of credit to Coach Wilkins. He gave me a lot of leeway, especially he didn't allow me to do all specialty. He was still in charge of punt, extra point stuff, but he allowed me to do punt block, punt return. He allowed me to do our kickoff return. And he allowed me to, when I say allowed, I come with ideas, all right, as long as you practice it, as long as you practice it, then you can do it in the game. And I did some crazy stuff. I would still do now when teams can kick. High school, everybody, you don't always have week to week. It's very rare you have somebody a kicker that can kick inside the 10.
Mm-hmm.
He allowed me to do two things. Like I said, most coaches probably wouldn't allow, especially for a young, coach is only probably in his fifth year, sixth year coaching, third year in college. But I before it's on social media and everything, I did like what they call a starburst. Now I call it trick or treat, coming together and doing all the trick stuff with kickoff. He let me do all that. He allowed me to make mistakes. Like I said, he let me coach punt return, punt block, and that's when I got really good at it, especially in the college level, because you got kids that you recruited, so you got better athletes that you can put in places. And we blocked a lot of kicks while I was there. So I was there in the AIC for 4 years, moved on from there, went to Kentucky State for a year, coached defensive line there and special teams. And then, ended up from there. When the time I was coaching at Kentucky State, my wife and my daughter, who was only a few months old, was living in Charlotte. We just moved down to Charlotte when we left Massachusetts. And I was actually in between jobs. Left Massachusetts was the best decision for I didn't know what it was at the time the prep school is now, but terrible prep school situation, so I ended up walking away from. So I was in between jobs. I ended up getting hired at Kentucky State, went on there, coached D-line and special teams. But like I said, wife and kid was still about 6 hours away in Charlotte, so tried to make long story short, ended up coming back. Yeah, coming back. Charlotte, just got my teacher certification in the quickest way. What coaches always told me to get into teaching first was special education.
Yep.
So, and those coaches got certified in special education, started coaching in North Carolina, and basically been down there since. I had one time when my first head coaching job, like Coach Human mentioned, I got hired at Red Springs High School. But after I left, in 3 years at Red Springs, I got an opportunity to coach one of my friends that I coached with at AIC. He ended up getting a job at Nolan Catholic High School in Texas. So in his second year, I told him I was looking, for another opportunity. He invited me to coach with him there in Texas in Fort Worth. I went down there as a strength and conditioning coordinator, coached all the special teams and defensive line. And we had a good time down there. But just being, me being from Jersey, wife being from Virginia, we really had no other family down there. So after 2 years, came back to North Carolina. I ended up at Pamlico, and then after 2 years at Pamlico, I ended up here at now I'm going into my 6th year at Farmville Central.
It's awesome.
What was it like? First of all, you did a great job at Farmville Central, really turning the program around, and obviously turning into a perennial winner, and obviously you're continuing to work to keep taking the next step there. What was it like going from, because the place you were before was Texas, right? So
Yeah.
was it? Yeah. So what was it like coaching in Texas, first of all, and then because you've been in Jersey, right? You coached in Texas, now and coaching in North Carolina. Like, talk a little bit what it's like coaching in the different places and the differences between the different areas.
I would say, well, I'm gonna start with Jersey first. I got to start with home, and I tell people this all the time when they talk about football. They talk about, Texas is great, California, Florida. Yes, I'm not saying it is great football per capita, bigger places more than Jersey. But I always tell kids, look, I tell people when they mention talk about, I said Jersey, we play football in Jersey. Y'all just have no idea because kids in Jersey, especially top players, do not stay in Jersey. I said if kids stayed in Jersey and went to Rutgers, and I'm talking about top kids, Rutgers would actually be able to compete in the Big Ten. Rutgers would be on the national stage. I said, but even when I was going, they didn't recruit me when I was going to high school, and I didn't want to go there. So I would tell Jersey has really good fun. I tell people if you look at top teams, I bet you in the country, they always have one or two of their best players from Jersey. We talk about think about Jabril Peppers at Michigan. Going over to Ron Dame. I try to think of more recent kids, but there's kids from Jersey all over the country in different schools. But when I say Texas is definitely one of the best players. It's definitely a whole different world. Literally, they play one of I think only 2 states. I didn't even notice when I was living in Massachusetts, but Texas and Massachusetts, only 2 states that play college rules in high school ball. Massachusetts, I don't know why.
Yep.
Massachusetts high school ball is not even close to any other state I've been to.
Coach, that was eye opening for me too. When I did 1 year at Bosco in 2012, right? The first thing, because they play national schedule and all that stuff. It was and I asked, I said, why don't we go to Texas, right? Like that's supposed to be the staple. Like you're supposed to be the program. Well, the rules are different. Like I had no clue, you know what I mean? Like I didn't know that was different. So, now having gone out there this year, right, and kind of adjusted and done whatever, like now I think you'll start to see a little bit, but definitely crazy when it was coming like, oh, they play rules. Like, yeah, you can cut outside the box, stuff like that. Like for us to have to prepare and teach guys all that kind of stuff for one game, like it didn't really, the juice wasn't worth the squeeze. So why Massachusetts does it? Great question.
They don't need to do it, but and it's like I said, being a special teams guy, I love the fact if kickoff landed on the goal line, you had the opportunity to bring it out.
Yeah,
so little things like that. Like I said, spring practice, like we had actual spring game in Texas too against each other, just like you would in college. So it was basically like it's basically like I guess you compare it to like the G League of college in Texas. You played college rules. You could have spring ball. You had strength and conditioning positions. Like even though I was at a private school, like that was my position. I didn't teach nothing. I didn't have to have teaching certification. I was strength and conditioning coordinator. That was my official title at the school. But I also got stipend for coaching. We had football. My office was in next to the locker room, across from the other coaches' offices down there. And we had great facilities. So facilities, and even at the public schools, I would drive by sometimes, check out. we played at a public school. And we played we played a couple, but one public school we played at their place. I forgot the name of the school, but it was literally, in 2017, it was like you would see on Friday Night Lights. We're driving into town, stores are shut down. You see signs up, and the closer we got to school, the more
At the
people
game.
tailgating. Yeah,
Crazy.
and we pulled up, our bus, and we had a charter bus, and we pull up. Stadium's already packed. Before the game, they had I guess their town little league. I saw a bunch of little league like Pop Warner type players, all on their sideline against watching pregame, things like that. So yeah, it's a completely different world. Nothing like obviously Jersey, Massachusetts where I've been. Definitely nothing like North Carolina. And from what I hear about South Carolina football is pretty good, it's great, and it's not the same there either. So it's definitely a different world in Texas. And I will say, I know some public school, I can only speak to coaches I coach against mostly in the private school. I like it better than the challenge one. So having coached college and having coached high school, I'll say this way first. The biggest thing that annoys me about coaching high school football after you coach college is that high school, you can play against a team where the coaching staff and their scheme and what they're doing is not sound, but they can win because they got better players.
Absolutely.
The same level players. And that's what kills me because I know in college level, I liked it better. Like I said, especially learning from being with Coach Gress and how detailed it was and breaking down film and game plan. Like you can do that and you just about balance. And I'm not talking about like Ohio State playing ECU or something, but Ohio State versus Michigan, you just about balance like, Marcus, David, Willie P. Then it really comes down to a little bit more. The players still matter, but so does the scheme just as much, if not more. So I say that to say in Texas, I like the more challenge because, and be honest, because at the high school level, when coaches are running stuff that you shouldn't get away with, it's not always the tendencies are always sometimes a little bit off because it shouldn't make sense sometimes what they're doing.
Absolutely.
College level, when you get tendencies, coach is a lot more predictable in a sense where, especially when stuff start not to go right because you start to get onto. So it's a little bit easier in that sense, I guess to say, because what you broke down, if you do it the right way and you spend the time to break down, more than likely is what they do. It may be a wrinkle here and there, but they always going to college coordinators always going to fall back on what they trust and believe. So when I say in Texas, where we coached at in the TAPS League, the Texas Athletic Parochial Private Schools League, I think the coaches were better across the board coaching against. In which, like I said, I appreciate it because it reminded me a little bit more of college and made me a little bit more excited on the weekend breaking down film and especially special teams because this is when this is after my first head coaching job, so I went back being assistant. You forget when you become a head coach, you forget how much more time you have to actually coach when you're assistant. So me just being a strength and conditioning coordinator and just the D-line, and especially I had a lot more time to focus on D-line stuff, D-line film and special teams film and especially scheme-wise. Like I said, we blocked a lot of kicks. This stuff I come with, because that's one thing. Even in Texas, was still a little bit lacking. Like everybody wasn't as focused on special teams, and you can tell some games. As we were, and as my head coach, my friend Dave Bowden allowed me to be for those games. So I think that's one of the biggest differences too in Texas. It's not. I think overall, been a little bit better coaching and time.
Yeah, I think, and look, we've had a lot of guys on and talked about this, right? And it's always something that comes up, like state to state. I referenced it in our pre-show when we were just talking about it. I think the emphasis, obviously, like with New Jersey, right? Like most guys that coach, you almost have to be a teacher just because of the schedule and how it works and all that, right? Whereas Texas, like it flips the other way. It's like you're a coach and you don't have any other responsibilities, because the sport itself is built into the school day first block of the day is football or athletic period where everybody's with their teams, right? So the overall structure of how it does kind of, it correlates with almost how important it is to either the school district or the state itself, just like our student athletes. And a lot of that, in Texas or some of those bigger, states where sports are important, right? Coaches are revered and put on the same pedestal, just like teachers are. Whereas sometimes I feel like in Jersey, having been in education, right, it's almost like the teachers and the coaches are against each other, right? It's like, hey, well, why does he not get to miss faculty meetings? Because, he's got 60 guys in the weight room. Well, that's why he gets to miss it. You know what I'm saying? And he's here till 9:00 at night when you run out the door at 3:00. But we should all be looked at on the same playing field. And I'm not saying that both aren't equally, you know what I mean? Like looked at in the same limelight, but by most, but that coach is doing so much more that why shouldn't they get some of the perks of whatever it is? Like, that's just how I look at it. Obviously I'm biased, having always been a coach and having been in it for so long, but the differentiation between state to state, and you said North Carolina now is catching up to it in terms of spring ball and kind of the amount of contact you have. Do you have, or do you see, Coach, a lot of schools employing strength and conditioning coaches school to school, or is that kind of still not something that's happening everywhere? Because we look at it here and it's, it's different state to state. So I was curious as to what you've seen.
Yeah, I see it happening slowly. So actually, when I was in Texas, since I was made the strength and conditioning coordinator, I made sure I focused. Like I said, not being a head coach, like so many other things you have time for. I basically taught, and I was always in strength and conditioning. Again, being blessed to have the opportunity to be at Virginia Tech. I played under probably the best strength and conditioning coach in college football. And I'm being a little bit biased, but there's a lot of truth to it too. There's not many people out there who are arguing that know, Coach Mike Gentry. Every team under him at Virginia Tech was a different breed. And my brother even admitted, he said when he played against Virginia Tech, he said those were always one of the strongest teams that they played against. So I was always in.
And also, Coach, like you came from a high school program that at the time, Montclair High was the staple of public school football in the state of New Jersey, right? Like that mid-90s run, Coach, like incredible. It was always the standard, right? And look, Coach Shue's, we're both Group 1 guys, right? I went to Butler High School. Coach Shue went to Saddlebrook, right? But Montclair High was just always in like the top 5, like you just knew who it was, always producing higher level guys. So you came from a high school program that was highly structured in itself where football mattered, to now go to Virginia Tech and you see that aspect of strength and conditioning. And now, like, it's always been it's always been a in the spotlight for you as a player into the coach. It was an easier transition for you as a coach to see how important it was, where I think some guys, like, it's not the case, right?
Absolutely. And to your point, I never thought about it, obviously, at that time, but we were a little bit ahead of the curve too. We had our athletic trainer was actually our strength and conditioning coach. I guess he never officially had that title.
Right. There wasn't those titles. You know what I mean? It was just, hey, the weight room guy or whatever it was,
But he's the one I remember when we had summer workouts, which us as captains, we mostly ran. He was the main guy.
Right, because you weren't allowed to have that contact. Coaches weren't allowed to talk to guys, right? You had captains practice, right? That's Dave. That was the same with when you were, like you coaches
the
weren't
90s,
there until coaches weren't there until practice.
Especially after we lost my junior year state championship to Morris Knowles, like I and my senior class, my fellow captains, we made a mission. Like, we're going back and we're not going to lose. We ran basic strength summer workouts, but like to my point and what you were saying, Bill Walsh, who was our athletic trainer, was also a strength and conditioning guy. Like I said, I don't know what we just coached Bill. He didn't have that official title, but he helped us on that end, giving us like agility, change of direction stuff to do while we were there in the summer, and all that. Besides his athletic training duties, so not even knowing it at the time, we were a little bit ahead of the curve in that sense. Now, I think about it now. Like I try to tell my players now even here in North Carolina, oh, how good you got it. I got you in the class where you get to lift during school. Like once we started the season, to be honest, we didn't lift anymore. In Montclair. Now obviously
Yeah, no, hell no.
yeah, and I mean that was everybody. That wasn't just us. Everyone. Once you guys
Right.
lift anymore, and part of it was that common misnomer that you can't lift during the season to make you slower or weaker.
Did
whatever.
you, Dave? Did you guys lift when you were in high school in season? There you go. I got that
I
answer.
lifted because I lifted because I went to a gym. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I would go to a gym, and that's where I did my. I mean, I always like every once in a while we might have lifted in gym class. I graduated in '92, so from high school. So other than fitness class and gym, I don't think we ever lifted in football back then. I lifted because I was trying to, do bigger things. And so I went to gym and worked out. But that's, a lot of places were kind of like that. And the ones who had strength and conditioning programs back then were way ahead of the curve in the 80s and 90s. Like coaches,
It
I
just
mean, my coaches obviously were really like from a different era, but
yeah, that's a different. Yeah.
yeah, but they tried to do most of it within practice. So practice was very different than it is now, right? It wasn't as like when you practice now, probably coach practices similarly. Like you're working the stuff you need to get done for football, okay? And whether that's skills, any of the stuff, scheme, everything, and then you do the strength conditioning or speed work, and that was compartmentized back then. Like man, my first half hour of practice
Yeah, you were
was
getting your ass
literally
beat.
them trying to get you stronger with push-ups and holding your position, like I guess they would call that planks now,
yeah.
right? And then like I mean we did sit-ups, we did push-ups, we were doing bear crawls back then.
Mhm.
We were, I mean, in bear crawls, it's not like that video that you've seen that went viral a while back, where a guy coach is like having a kid bear crawl 100 yards. Man, we would do that 3 days a week at the beginning of practice, but we would do it from sideline to sideline. Like
Mhm.
Yep.
it was just a different time because the weight room was now by the time coach graduated, I think it was starting to become a bigger thing. That '90s was a big transition time period where
Yeah.
a lot of this
Right.
stuff really, the Husker Power and all that stuff obviously started in the
Yeah, I was gonna say
'70s.
you start to see
That
Nebraska, right? Like all the
it
Husker
started
Power stuff
moving in
really
the
started to
eight.
come to the limelight.
It started coming in the '80s to high schools. The really, better programs were using it. But a lot of the old school coaches, still until maybe at least the early '90s, was doing a lot of it at practice. Like their whole thought process was like, then you would go watch some film after, and you were, practices were forever. So you were at
Yeah.
7:30 at that time period, time point.
Shit.
And
Dave, we've
and
talked about
Montclair
like
was
my era.
probably similar back
Well, that's
then. It probably
well,
started to
even at
change for
right. We've talked about right. Like you've always said, like Derek, you're like the end of it, the start of the new. Like even in
yes.
college, dude, our practices at Montclair State were they were forever. They were 3 hours easy, right? And and you had full segments. I mean, special teams got as much time at Montclair State as fucking offense and defense, dude. Like it was, I mean, hours. And it was marathon Thursdays of just holy hell, like but you knew what it was. But I will say this, there was very little of that formal end of practice quote conditioning to beat you down and run you into the ground.
Right.
There was very little of that when I was there, in terms of like, hey, we just crushed them for 3 hours. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, they're good now. They didn't do that, which a lot of guys kind of still did that on top of the long practices. So look,
Sure.
it was just a matter of where it was, right? But I mean, yeah, like that's how it was. The under 2 hour practice, that's something that, you know what I mean? Like that's evolved and taken a long time for guys to freaking like do it. I think a little bit of that has,
and thank God it did. Thank God.
No
because
doubt.
you get more done.
And that's
100%.
also with having contact about every day, every practice without any type of
Oh,
regulation.
Coach,
And
you were getting taken to the ground every day in practice. You know what I'm saying?
everything,
There was no thud. It
and
was,
there was no
yep,
sitting out for a headache or concussion. Unfortunately,
Coach, you got your hey, it was hey, you got
I
your
tell
bell
this
rung,
great
get back in
when
the
I was at
game,
UConn.
right? Like,
I tell this great story all the time. So I was a linebacker at UConn, and um, I remember we were, I don't know, it was some drill, and me and a few of the linebackers were standing on the sidelines and waiting to go in, and one of the guys turns to me and goes, "Yo, do you see green dots every time you hit something?" And I'm like, "No." And the other guy says, I see similar type things." I'm like, "Yo, you two probably need to go see the trainer because I don't see any of that stuff when I hit people. I just hit people and it's nothing. You know what I mean? It's just regular, you know." But that's how it was. Like, do you think they went and saw the trainer? No, they didn't. Like they kind of, but you knew like there was something wrong, obviously. But you know, you know, and obviously a lot of these things are great that have come through now because it really protects the player, gives them a much better chance at a longer career. It wasn't, you know, when we played, it was purely survival of the fittest. Like
oh yeah,
it was really like in college, it was still the same way. Now, when I was playing, it was starting to change in '96, my senior year. We got in a new strength and conditioning coach. He was starting to focus more on speed and explosion, stuff like that. And those guys all came from Notre Dame. It was Lou Holtz's son, Skip. And so those guys were he had started to change it 2 years before when he took over, and then it was evolving. Right, I could see how it was all evolving. Um, but when I first got there, I mean, it was purely like literally guys. If you didn't survive, like that was just it for you as your career. Like if you couldn't handle the level of I don't even, it's not I'm not even brutality from a physical standpoint because I mean yeah it was physical and all that stuff, but I mean just the workload like 3 hour
right.
practices.
I say mentally being able to go back and make yourself go back and do it all again.
Right, day after day after
You
day after
really
day
loved
after
it. You
day.
really
Yeah, you're like,
loved
what
it.
the hell is wrong with you? Like, guys
Absolutely.
used to tell you all the time, like, you're crazy. You're like,
Yeah,
I know, like,
yeah, absolutely.
I
Because
know.
I didn't see much involvement while or evolution while I was at Virginia Tech. Like I said, we was under great strength and conditioning coach, but and some of that stuff they probably need nowadays, but some kids can't. I tell them all the time when I got Virginia Tech, we actually had freshman practice first. We had a freshman camp before everybody else
Got
that
it.
was coming. So we practiced. All the incoming freshmen was there and or transfers. Like when I transferred, then it's not the transfer. It was basic JUCOs or prep school kids.
Right.
We had like a 3-day practice before official camp started. So we already in 2 days, and then when everybody in the rest of the team comes, first day of practice, 3-day, which obviously 2 days is basically non-existent now, but 3 days we were still doing too. Then we would have practice in the morning, eat lunch, practice in the afternoon, get a little dinner break with it. Then we had like a special teams practice. But we did that, and then my first year, Virginia Tech, I was a linebacker. I was outside linebacker in high school. They recruited me linebacker. And Virginia Tech, we was in, it's a 4-2-5 now, but basic G defense is basically what it was. So I was one of the inside linebackers, and it was normal for us to do ISO every day.
Every day.
Every day.
And we had a period during the season.
It wasn't thud either. Like,
No.
like you were getting after it. Like there wasn't any of that like teammate type of, hey buddy, like, you know what I mean? It was boom.
No, it's not.
Like,
I don't think thud, that word didn't exist when I was in college.
Right.
We'd have a period called middle drill in at Virginia Tech, and basically it's all inside run, no receivers, no DBs, except maybe a safety, but it had to be all. The offense had to run all inside run plays, counters, ISO, power, and defense had to stop it. And when I got in the freshman year, like the third group, whatever, it seemed like every play was ISO, and I'm talking about. And that's the first thing we taught. Coach Fawcett, that whole you reading triangle guard, center, backfield. If that hole opens up B gap, you run through.
Boom. You plug it.
And,
Yep. Go get it.
9 times out of 10 on the other side was a 250-pound fullback. 240.
Fullback.
Yes, sir.
I was
Yep.
I was 225 my freshman year, but you had to run and hit it. And I'm surprised I haven't. Maybe I had light ones or small because I haven't. But I've had friends go through, and it sounds like thunder, and they come out, wobbly.
Right.
And they didn't have to sit out or go through any protocol.
Nope.
I mean, they took a break.
Yeah. Yeah.
I remember even one time in high school, I actually went to DePaul my freshman year. I kind of got recruited out of the Cobras, Montclair Cobras, during 8th grade.
Okay.
To DePaul. So I actually spent
still exist, by the way, Coach. They still exist, by the way. Montclair
Yeah,
Cobras are still a really good team.
I know.
Still a really good team.
Yeah, I know. They've been doing great recruiting because when I went to DePaul, I could count how many black kids was in school, to be honest.
Oh, Coach, different world, buddy. Different world. That changed after in 2013. Yep, 2013 they made that little switch.
I know.
When they started having to play the because look, we used to play. I tell Dave's heard this 1,000 times. Like as a group one at Butler, we would play DePaul every year, and we would
was our rivals when I was in school.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we would you know what I mean? Like it was and then I ended up when I got on the staff at Bosco, they were in our league and we were playing them regular season. And I can remember, going in on Monday and all right, what's the game plan for the week? And it was we don't have one. And I was like, what? Like they're like, no, we just, we'll be okay. Like, you know what I mean? Like we didn't even need to, but I was, oh, all right. And, so then some things changed. Obviously, they made a switch, but DePaul is a very different DePaul than what we grew up with in the early 2090s type of scenario. There's no doubt.
I know. My freshman year, like I said, they did a good recruiting us then because my freshman year, we had a really good class at DePaul. We was the only, I don't know if we still are, but at the time, we was the only undefeated freshman team there. We went 10-0. But one of our games that year we played, actually I remember exactly against Madison because in that where Neil O'Donnell went to.
Neil O'Donnell, yep.
We playing at Madison, and it wasn't ISO, but the whole open. And at the time I was playing middle linebacker. So I went in 8th grade. That's where I kind of had my breakout season. I was playing linebacker in the middle, and that's why they recruited me to play at DePaul. And hole opened up. They had a pretty big running back, but he was okay. I ran right through, smacked him right in the backfield, but my face mask hit me in the bridge of my nose.
Oof.
And I remember getting up, and I remember and everybody in the team is smacking him and everything. They did a great job. And I just remember one of my teammates saying, hold up, Coach, I don't think something's right. He said my eyes was crossed. I got up. Coach sat me down. This is no lie. I remember some people might remember this commercial, but he said, when I sat down, I remember being able to see straight again, whatever. Sat down and said, okay, what's your name? I said, Ron. Where are you? I said, we're at the game. I said, what's the score? Look at the scoreboard, whatever the score was, we win. It's okay. And I just remember, and then I started remembering the commercial, man, who are you? Like, I'm Batman. Like, I didn't say that. I remember all that. And I remember after that, Coach said, okay, you'll be all right. Pat me on the helmet. That was like the second quarter, I think. I played the rest of the game.
Yeah, go get it. Now you say you have a headache, you're out for 2 weeks.
Yeah, that would have been it. And you got, you do the protocol and everything. So,
yep.
But that's what it was. Then, like I said, in Virginia Tech, it was normal to just do ISO with everything every day. In ISO, and we had some brutal workouts in the summer too. Like I said, late '90s. That's why we were that good and tough. Like we went through some stuff, and like you mentioned, you had to be mentally tough. It wasn't all physical. Like you just had to be able to get up and keep going. I think that's what coaches want to see most of the time, especially in winter workouts. Our summer workouts, we had, I'd seen guys fall out on the tracks when running. I had my issue in the summer. I don't know why. Just some reason I could never finish a summer workout without throwing up. And I mean, I would not eat anything on purpose because I knew it would happen. So I tried, maybe if I don't eat, just drink water, it wouldn't happen. I found out what my stomach fluid looks like. So
yeah,
but I would keep going. And then
Well, that
we
was the
coached-
difference, right?
Yeah, I would
Now
show
you
up.
do that and you get pulled out. You got this, you got that. I think too, obviously, like with way, everything has evolved with the access that everybody has to so much information on whether it be social media or the internet. Like there was just so many things that we were unaware of. And I say it to my players all the time, like, guys, you're in like the top time for technology and all of these things that can aid you in the there's so much more involved in the game off the field, whether it's recovery or whether it's the prehab stuff of what I mean, like these guys with massages, the cupping, the whatever the hell it is, what I'm saying, like it's not even close
to help them be good than we ever had. Like they got access to stuff that only pros used to have access to when we was in school.
Right. And shit, even some of the times those guys, I mean, even you at Virginia Tech might have had, didn't even have some access to some of these things that these guys, you know what I mean? Like just all of that stuff and being, because look, obviously the three of us, we all played at the next level and we know what it took to be good at that next level, right? We excelled even taking that next jump, right? And to get some of these guys to understand how all in you have to be, right? Whether it comes down to picking the right food, right? How much you're sleeping. Like for me personally as a player, if I had known about all that stuff going on then, I would have done every bit of it to get to where I was. Cause and Dave's heard me say this a bunch. Like I was never the fast guy, the big guy, the whatever. Like I got by because, I had a brain and I worked really freaking hard and I cared. Right. So some of these guys, you look at it and it's like, buddy, you have every measurable possible. You have all the intangibles that you could do some really, really good things. But then you see them kind of just, yeah, okay. And it's just kind of there because that work ethic or some of those things to take it to that next level are going to be a little uncomfortable. And they're not okay with that. Right? Like that's very difficult for some of these guys to put themselves in some of those positions, especially when they've been told by, their youth coach or, some random uncle of, hey, you're the guy. You've always been the guy. Right. And they've gotten by on that talent alone. Right. So now when everybody has that talent at the next level, whether it's, Virginia Tech, UConn, Montclair State, wherever it is, whatever level that is, they're so enamored with the Division III or Division II, like everybody is good. Right. Like there's levels to it, but everybody is still the best player on their team, irregardless of where they're at. Right. Because I mean, look, you went to Virginia Tech, you coached at Montclair. I'm sure there was a guy or two at Montclair that could have played at Virginia Tech when you were there. Right. Like there are some of those things that just happen. And, for you, coach, taking over a program now, touch on some of the staples culture wise, right, that you kind of instill. What do you want Farmville to be when it comes to, maybe an opponent walking away or how you're viewed by maybe the school itself, right? Like what is the football team at Farmville?
Well, first it kind of sounds cliche, but it is just also the truth. It has to start in a way when that was the biggest issue when I got here, and it's not it's kind of developing attitude, but it's also revealing to find out what their weaknesses are, especially mentally. All right, what humps they need to go, because you'll find out real quick which guys kind of shy away from this lift and that lift.
Oh yeah.
Which guy loves the bench, which everybody does, love to get on the bench, but when it's time to squat, they kind of hide out in the corner or don't do. If it's five reps, they're only doing 2 or 3 or try to. And it's constantly evolving. So one of the things it's like culture is just. You don't come in and change it, and I'm good. That's it. It is constantly evolving, and you have to continue to. And it's constant evaluation, and continue to change, make the changes necessary to keep the standard that you built and want to keep. That's like going into this year. My motto, our theme for this year, actually, I keep telling players, you need to be the standard. All right, what does that mean? To be the standard that. We're at the point now it's been set, foundations been set, especially by my 26 class, who brought us to 4th round of the playoffs for the first time since 2014, and had a chance to play. We was one game away from playing for Eastern Regional Championship.
Right, five games to win it all in North Carolina.
5 games to get there.
Got it.
It should be 5 games, but yeah, so 5. So we was 4th round, so we was 2 games away from the state championship.
Okay, that's a lot of rounds of playoffs. Damn.
Yes, it is. Yes, and it's 2 rounds. It's a whole nother story. But what I would say, so when I talk about players being a standard, it's like now those guys are going, those senior class going. Now it's time. It's a whole new team. It's time y'all step up to hold each other accountable, to put in the work in the weight room, not let a teammate skip a rep and sit out. Like my last class, my 26th class, it'd be funny at times. They were joking, but it's like, a lot of truth is said in jest. They would call kids out all the time. They miss coach. Why? Or say it indirectly, like, Dash, why are you skipping it? Why you didn't finish your 3rd rep? Why you didn't finish the 3rd rep? Like just saying it out loud so I can hear everything. They kind of almost shame the kids into doing it or jokingly embarrass them into doing it. So it's like moving on to the next class to be able to do that and be the standard. Don't just walk by a piece of trash in the locker room and like that stuff makes a difference. So if you're willing to walk by that, what are you willing to walk by, ignore on the field when we need you to do something? It being coachable. And I think you touched on it, one of the biggest things. Like I've had plenty of kids that are in college now that I told while they was here, we've had had a back and forth. When I told them they weren't working hard enough, or I seen where they can do more. Say, look, actually, one kid comes to mind that's actually playing in the Patriot League right now and just finishing his freshman year, and now he knows, and understands. But
yeah,
I had to pull him aside one time. I told him, look, you have more talent than I ever did in high school.
Right.
But you're not a better football player because mentally you couldn't handle some stuff that I did and went through. And that's what I'm trying to get you prepared for in college. Like you can do stuff I couldn't do, but I could still be all state and make certain plays because it's my attitude and how I work. And just trying to get kids, and he's not the only one. Like I said, I've had past couple of years, I got a kid at ECU right now. I got a kid at Lehigh. I got a kid at Fayetteville State. I got a kid at Elizabeth City State. And I told the kids all about time. Now, after they get there, of course, say, yeah, because we got, like, I tell you how much you think, lifting here is a lot. Like, it's going to be more. You're going to do more in college. Or you talk about you got to finish schoolwork. And they try to flip it. I was telling them, student athletes, well, coach, I need to finish the test that I missed makeup. My teacher wanted to come finish it, doing with it. I said, no. I said, well, coach, you always say student. I said, yeah, but guess what? What also comes with that is time management and organization.
Yes, sir.
They'll tell you college that you need to go make up a test during practice. That ain't gonna happen. Or wait.
Right. Yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah. So you got to
Who's next?
Time management. Exactly. So just getting kids to try to understand that is the biggest thing, like I said, and being consistent with understanding it. And that from the weight room carries into practice. How we practice everything. I always tell people standard in our culture is not what we do, what we say we do, but how we do it. And how we do everything, how we practice. We focus on practicing fast. We run and run a no huddle. We run triple option, pistol triple, but no huddle. And we run fast, tempo. So I think this past season we averaged about 72, 75 plays a game.
Damn, moving.
And you'll ask anybody, I've had coaches after the season, sometimes during the season, told me this year is the fast. And it's partly because my quarterback was a senior, been in the system all 4 years. He ran extremely well. But any coach you play against this year tell you we're probably the fastest team as far as tempo getting plays in that anybody played against this year. And so it's because we practice that way. I had a team that how do you practice? We practice that way, and also it makes it harder for you to prepare for us. Like one coach told me, they said, well, we had an opponent coach told me that I'm cool with the staff, one of the best teams down here, Tarboro. But he said, the way we practice for your tempo, we had 2 huddles, 2 scout team huddles. And I showed them 3 plays. And he said, I showed them 3 plays, and then the next team, he said, but even that wasn't as fast as y'all because
you're never going to replicate it.
Yeah, you can't because they still had to take a break in between. Once the second huddle went on, he had to show the next 3. He said, but you guys, once you start going, as soon as the ball down here, we're snapping. Like we had games when you see on film, the sticks are still moving because which some coaches still don't know the rule on because I've had them I've heard opponents yelling at the reps. You only need to wait for the box to be down to set the line of scrimmage.
That's it. That's
Yeah.
it. And look, the triple is hard to prepare for in general, especially in high school, having to be disciplined. And hey, you got the dive, you got the pitch, you got the QB, right? Like guys blow that all the time. On top of having to deal with pace and all that, and the chaos created within that, I don't care. You could, the only way you could do it, right, and even have a chance to prepare to that level of what it is to bring in an entire other team that runs that offense and rep against that, right? But during the week, you're trying to get a scout team to run through this stuff. Like, come on, man. Like, what are we talking about? Like, it's not even close. The preparation that has to go into, playing triple in general, and then on top of it, talking about pace, man, like that's unbelievable. 70 plays a game, coach. That's awesome.
That's amazing. That's phenomenal stuff. That's phenomenal.
Dave, imagine that's like, and look, you're right, coach. Like, I'm sure it has a lot to do with having a 4-year starter in the system or, whatever it is, a quarterback like that. But now look, as long as you're preparing those JV guys or those sub-varsity guys for that next whatever, plus, you've been there for a little while now, that system is there, repping it, because that's one of those rep type of systems, right? Like, look, every system is, but even more so with the triple of just like the feel and all that. And like you said, because you referenced it in the beginning, I'm sure that defenses, for what they try to do to stop what you do, is probably unbelievable. Like, they're probably pulling shit out of their hat. Like, they have just the most random things you could possibly think of. Because high school coaches, like you said, they're willing to try anything.
Yeah, we've had plenty of times defense will line up in something completely different that we prepare for.
No doubt. There's no doubt.
Especially our last playoff game that we actually lost. They had some good players on defense, but I'm not pretty sure the defense coordinator knew what he wanted to do. They was all over the place, and we just kept gashing them. Like, they literally they came out the first play of the game, only had 2 down linemen, and let the rest kind of walk around. And we knew
I kind
of knew that. Like, I was, like I said, I was a defense guy my first 17 years, so I understand what they were trying to do, and I knew they were trying to do it. So where we prepared for that our week, I told our guys, look, no matter what, we identified who to attack, because it was based out of a 3-3 stack, but it didn't always look like that at all. So I told our O-line quarterback, look, we're gonna, number 9, number 50, we're gonna those are gonna be our base reads, no matter where they are. Those are 2 guys we're not gonna block on these plays. And everybody else, which is gap down, when whoever ends up in your gap, that's who you take. And our quarterback said he's a veteran. He the first play when he saw them line up with the 2, they was basically like 5s, and everybody was walked around. We had a triple call the first play, but he just checked the ISO 5 yards.
Yep, because he knew.
Yeah,
and look, and I think that's us. It's something that Dave and I have discussed a ton, right? Like, you can prepare all week for, hey, this is what they're going to do. This is where he's going to be. This is whatever. Even if now look, and now Friday night you go into that game and you might that might be a very their defense might be a sound, solid defense, but just because it's high school football, you might have a guy lined up in a wrong spot because he made a mistake, right? Because there's just so much to it and the structure of whatever. So that's why, we've always talked about having firm rules on your offense in terms of your philosophy and whatnot, so that it's not so much of this or that, right? So now in a game, they can always fall back on those rules, irregardless of the picture that the defense is painting for them.
Right. Yeah, that's, like I said, that's the biggest thing is being, and like I said, we're consistent with what we're doing. We have a bunch of things we do off option when teams actually do stop or give us a little bit of trouble. Option. We have a whole counter series off of option. We do run power with jet read or power read, some of these teams call it. So a bunch of play actions off of option. So and this year, because I have a quarterback, my quarterback this year is going to be started has a much better arm than my last quarterback, baseball player. So we're probably going to run a little bit more RPO version option. That's all, because that's all RPO is, extended option. Run pass option equals triple to me. So
yeah, absolutely.
So it's not something brand new for us. We already have some RPOs, and like I said, it's just extended part of the option. So it's not hard for us to transition to that, and we're going to do that more because I have a quarterback I still have a quarterback that can run, but like I said, he has an arm. He can wing it downfield too.
No doubt about it, Coach. We don't want to. I think we held you past the time you had to go. Um, I don't want to hold you any longer, but it's been awesome talking to you. We could talk to you all day.
Yeah.
It's really great hearing all the things that you're doing and how you really built up this program. Before I let you go, if you kind of just leave us with a couple of things that you think are key for athletes having success in your program and the football program in general that will help them be able to be the best they can be.
Well, what I always told my players, and I didn't realize how impactful it was until my seniors started talking about it, started repeating it with things they do. And like I said, they're funny at times, but they'd be good friends, but they don't let nothing slide as far as little slip up and accountability here or there. But I think it's great for any athlete, any sport. One thing I learned, like I said, a phrase I started using with my teams, you got to have discipline over motivation. It is a lot more important. So everybody's motivated. New, if first time in the program or first day of practice, first day of hitting is great.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody's feeling real good. But what about that? Third week in the summer when you're the only one, and when your friend's not on the team and still sleeping in, and you got to be, at the field at 7:45 a.m. What about that? Fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth week. So we went to the fourth round players. Like we was in about 15 weeks for us. Now, what about week 13 now when you can doing the same thing over and over again? Motivation may not be the same, but you better be disciplined enough to continue to show up and do things the right way. And that takes you a long way. And that goes to what we talked about earlier as far as being mentally tough. That's part of it. Being disciplined when, doing, sometimes means also doing something you don't like to do, but doing it the way it's supposed to be done and doing it because it will actually lead to you and your team being successful. So, and especially with lifting. So a lot of times, especially in college, sometimes I didn't want to feel like getting up to lift, on Sunday afternoon after playing the game on Saturday and then going to party on Saturday night. But we had to be there Sunday. And if you weren't, there was consequences for it. And you can carry that on in life, especially, whatever you do, for a career at work, have discipline over motivation. And I always, and the other thing I always say, I talk to my players about is Proverbs 18:21, life and death in the power of the tongue. Especially on the field or anything you're doing, always speak positive, stay positive, let positive things, words come out your mouth, continue to motivate you and others. So you don't let yourself down. Because that was one of the biggest issues as far as turning around a program here, on the field, as soon as my first year, as soon as something bad happened, a fumble, give up a touchdown, kids' heads went down. And then it might be only 7-0. Right, or we might have been winning 14-7. All they did was tie the game up. You can't put your head down. So, like I said, Proverbs 18:21 is a big thing for them, getting them, turn around, speak positive, life, depth, and power of the tongue. Stay positive, speak positive, everything you do, and just continue to focus on what you can control.
No doubt. The changing the "here we go again" thing that gets in their head.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing in turning around the program. It goes from "here we go again" to "we got to fight." We got to fight, and once they do that, and this better than anybody. Once they do that, it's now you're in a position to be able to be successful when they fight through it. And it's one of those things because you've turned around programs, so you see it. When you see it for the first time it happens to them, you might be fighting through a season of it, right? But as soon as you see it, you know it. Okay, now we've got a chance. Now it's just a matter of getting them consistently to feel that way and to be that way. And then once they know, then no matter what happens, they're always in a fight. It doesn't matter if it's going bad. It doesn't matter if it's going bad the whole game.
Mm-hmm.
That they could always, the next play could be the one that turns it around. Then obviously you start to have what you're having, which is a lot of continuous success and consistent success.
Exactly.
And then like it's just only a matter of time before they take that next big step, but it's awesome to hear your success and really just amazing the the variety of places you've been, which is really cool. Like, I mean, you've really taken chances in your own career, and
Roll the dice,
it's
man.
really, yeah, it's really worked out well, and it's really like it's kudos to you to you live it, man. You live it. It's like, hey, when you go to a new place, like you don't. You may not be from there, like you don't know what's going to happen, right? And
Yeah.
you're there to fight just like they are. So pretty cool, really cool stuff. And I don't want to hold you any longer because I know it's 11:15, but I can't thank you enough for coming on today.
Yeah, no problem at all. No, I actually had a few more minutes there, but yeah,
Oh,
everything you said is exactly right. But I just want to point out before you go, I know the exact
yeah,
change is important, like you said, when that here we go again attitude changed. So in my second year, we knew we would be better. We had a lot of talent coming back. We started out 0-3, and it was first game of the season, my starting quarterback got hurt halfway through the first half. So we lost the game that we didn't think we'd lose. We lost the game to the team we beat 46-7 the year before, and we only won 2 games the year before. So he got hurt. He didn't come back to our fourth game. We started out 0-3, and the fourth game was a battle. It was close the entire game. The kids kept, and we was away, and it was at their place, and we just kept hanging in there, kept hanging in. Defense made play here and there, and I know the change actually came. Like I said, we was down probably 6, something like that, 5, and we had less than 2 minutes left, and we still getting our tempo going, not as fast as it is now, but we got tempo going, and my best player broke a couple of tackles, broke out for about a 55-yard run for a touchdown for a go-ahead lead, and after that, we ended up winning. Our defense had to come up with a final stop to win that game. After that, that's when I really seen a change set in, because then we started our conference play the next week, and we played a team that they haven't beat but maybe one time in the entire career. We went to that team's place and we beat them, like it was convincing. Like the defense played really, really well, like dominated them, and to the point where game was over. We was up by more than 2 touchdowns, but they got inside the 10, and obviously they're trying to score. And our defense shut them down, the 10 goal line stand, and kind of just seemed like just take all the momentum, just deflate that team completely. And you see how our guys actually really changed. Like they took pride in that. Like game was over. If they scored, we still win. But they really just took it for they took pride in not allowing them to score again, and really just finishing it like a dominant performance. So it definitely made a difference, like you said, just get rid of that. Oh, here we go again attitude to. No, we still, as long as we're on the field, we still got a chance.
Yeah, because that's really hard to turn around, right? Like that is really hard to turn around. It's not something that you dealt with at Montclair High School, right? Because that was just always a winning program. You were kind of into that. The same with me when I was at Butler, like perennial Group 1 power. Like, I watched them win 4 state titles in a row in the mid-90s. And, when I got to high school, they had just come off like a 2-win season. That was not the standard. And it was a lot of that, right? Like negative things would happen, heads go in the ground, right? It's something that even, where I'm at now, traditional powerhouse, they were used to winning for a lot of years, hasn't been the case, right? So it's a really bad, when that negative thing happens, it's not, okay, we're good, it's, oh, here we go again. Or what's the next bad thing that's going to happen? And, it's hard to get these guys to flip that switch and understand, especially in the game of football, because that's what's going to happen. There's going to be good plays. There's going to be bad plays. Like there's so much of that's going to happen every single time you go out there on Friday night, right? You have to be resilient and you have to continue to fight no matter what. And when you have guys that's the standard for them and they refuse to quit, that's when I think you really can latch onto that and you're trending upward, but to sustain that day after day after day, like we talked about, doing the right thing day after day, when it's so easy to not do it, is really hard. And when you can get that in the right spot, like you're going to win, right? Like, and you're going to win on and off the field, and those kids are going to see it. And when you have leaders that see it and police it, that's when you're really cooking with gas. Because now it's not you telling guys to do reps. It's other guys that, are in their quote world telling them, hey, like, you didn't do what you're supposed to do, bro. Or like, hey, like, we're only as good as you, whether you're a starter or not. So I think that's an interesting, dynamic to it. And turning around a program, it takes time for that. Dave has turned around some programs. I mean, he's taken varsity programs, had to go JV for a year and then bounce back. And before you know it, 2 years later, they're in like the state finals, right? So the building of the culture, the off the field stuff, all ties into kind of how you do it on game day. And when you get it, man, it's nothing like it.
Yes, sir. Yep.
No doubt. No doubt. Coach, have a great weekend. Enjoy North Carolina. I'm certain it's got to be nice and warm there. So that's probably the good
It's
thing.
70 today. So we had a lot of rain last 2 days, which we needed it. But
and good luck, coach, because I know you're rolling into spring ball next week. So even though it ain't the perfect setup, hey buddy, at least you get to deal with your guys next week, right? Because we're still sitting here in Jersey looking at like, hey, what are we doing, right? We're just excited. Coaches are rolling, college guys are rolling through these 2 weeks with some visits and some looking at some guys, but these guys are still, there ain't no football going on, that's for sure. But Coach, thanks again, man. Really appreciate it. Good luck with everything. We'll talk soon.
Yes, sir.
All right, Coach. Have a great day.
Thank you. You
Thanks,
too.
Coach. Take care, buddy.
Bye. Awesome stuff, dude. Really good. It's always great hearing different perspectives from different area, different journey.
You were in that era of Montclair High School.
He was a great player. I know he is.
Bro,
I didn't.
hell yeah.
When he said, obviously, the name is like a common, first and last name.
Oh no! When you put it together,
what's who he said where he went to high school? I know exactly who he is.
100%. I mean, he
was a fantastic football player.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I know I knew him because even though he was at Montclair State as a coach before I was there, Coach Agresta, who he referenced, who was my DC, he would reference him like, hey, Coach Cook, when he was here, this, or hey, Coach Cook, this, like, you know what I mean? Like some of that kind of, so when
he was like Montclair's under what's his name? They had a great couple of years. The guy used to be ahead of
Fiore.
Fiore. They had some great years there. That was when I was coaching at Powell Park.
That's when I was at West Orange and had to play them every year. You know what I'm saying? Like they were the standard. They had guys going to Boston College or guys going, you know what I mean? I mean, look,
but they were still the 90s was really the 80s and 90s were a huge Montclair era. I mean, probably the 70s too. And
I wouldn't.
And
you're talking
and
Larry
that was
Anderson,
then it started to change. Fiore brought it back, I think. Fiore brought it back.
He was the last one. So he brought it back and he kept those guys there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But, you look at it now, right? And they're on, third head coach in like 3 years. The town itself has changed. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, talk about some of that happening. And also, like, obviously, like he talked about the youth organization.
That town used to. That town used to be
now.
That town used to be. Montclair is probably very similar to West Orange in a lot of ways, but that town what used to have a unique mix of people that were middle class, poor, and rich.
100%.
And they all
figured out a way to make it all work. Yep, they figured out a way
they really had a unique mix of that, and everybody made it all work, and that's what made Montclair great.
Absolutely.
Now when Fiore did it, it was less of a mix. He just, I think, rebirthed it, got players back out and stuff. Yep. But when Ron played, that certainly was the case, and obviously, definitely when I was in high school, like a few years before that, and then I remember them from the 80s. I'm sure the 70s were like that too, because
it was because
it used to be like
public school powerhouse, Hackensack, right?
Hackensack, Montclair. Well, the 70s was Hackensack, probably Montclair, probably Clifton is my guess.
Even Nutley back then, dude, was like a power. Some of these schools, they're just so
North
different.
Bergen,
North Bergen, which were unbelievable.
North Bergen was I mean, I'm trying to think of like
But it's like, but
even in the '90s, actually, Patterson Kennedy was very good in East Side. Believe it or not,
well,
like they were
I
very
think back
good.
then too, a lot of that had to do with they were the bigger schools in terms of enrollment numbers, right? So they had
Okay,
just more options of guys that could freaking play, and
I think
nobody went
parochial
out
school
of their
probably.
way to go to parochial, right? Like nobody
Yeah, I think that
really
changed it a
the right
lot. But
when
well, the
Toll took Don
educational system
Bosco
went
and
down.
changed it. Absolutely.
Educate like so the
Public
kids
school
who were
education changed, dude.
so what happened, I think the big change, like you definitely had probably, I mean, in Patterson it wasn't like there were wealthy kids, but in Montclair I would say some more, like Coach talked about how he coached at Montclair Kimley, some more of the really wealthy kids
MKA,
decided to
man.
start going to MKA and other schools like that. And
Yep.
then you started to have even the middle class and even the poorer kids, if they were really good, they would go to a parochial. So when that
Because they
changed,
were going to help them get in there and do some of that kind of stuff, right? But also, I think Toll leaving Hackensack to go to Bosco and turn that whole
he
thing
changed the whole thing.
added
Parochial
a
before
whole like
Toll,
because was
before
St. Joe's
Toll,
and
yeah,
Bergen.
right. And yeah, they recruited, you know what I mean? But
Right.
like I
Gabe,
told
I mean,
you,
look at
what my
you
father
grew up
told
with
me,
right, and you grew
my
up with
father told
Paramus
me many
Catholic,
years. Well,
and it
like
was
when my
like,
father told me many years later, like when he told me, hey, I never told you the time, but there was a guy in town that I knew that came up to me. They wanted you to go to St. Joe's, you wouldn't have to pay. Like that wasn't, see, but that was pretty much the extent of the recruiting. There wasn't anybody coming up to me. You know what I'm saying?
no,
They kind of respected the parent relationship,
absolutely,
and they went up to the
absolutely.
parent and recruited the parent, right? And if the parent thought it was something that was good for his kid, he presented it to his kid, and then
100%.
it became an option. But like, but they didn't go and like chase him down like now it is. Okay, I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying how it's different, right? So now they can go directly to the kid too,
Oh
especially
yeah,
with social media. And so I never even knew that, because if my father never presented to me, and the St. Joe's guys who lived in town, because there was kids from Saddlebrook that would go to St. Joe's. Very rarely did it go to Bergen Catholic, although we had a great player a few years before me, who lived right around the corner, that did go to Bergen Catholic. But very rarely did Saddlebrook kids go to Bergen Catholic. They usually went to St. Joe's or Paramus Catholic, right? And they knew my father wasn't going to send me to Paramus Catholic because it wasn't as good a school. But
right.
St. Joe's, so like I said, I didn't know. My father must have had like a senior moment when he told me about like 7, 8 years
Yeah,
ago, because dude, he never told me we're talking, how long is this? 60 years,
dude, I think
so
it's great. It's wild.
30 years. I'm sorry, 30
You're
years.
like, oh, thanks,
So
Pop.
yeah, 30 years. So, but anyway, it's interesting because, uh, that changed. So Toll changed it. Not that he didn't go to parents, but it changed the process when a really a
Just the
public school
process.
got. Yeah. Now, in all fairness, Karsich going from Hackensack, I think he was at Hackensack. No, he was a Hackensack guy. I think he coached at Hackensack with Mielo, and then went to Bergen Catholic. I think he was the head coach before Stengel, and then went to St. Joe's. So, but that was parochial to parochial. You know what I'm saying? And Stengel was parochial.
Correct.
So it was a different time when Toll made the public school powerhouse leap, saying, basically not saying it purposely, but saying it like indirectly, we did great here, but we can never be national champs. You know what I'm saying? And when he went to Don Bosco, that was basically what he was saying. And from that point forward, and I know he wasn't purposely trying to be an innovator, but from that point forward, he innovated that process. And then everybody realized, okay, and Partridge took it to another level, but like
Yep.
everybody realized at that point that you just need to find the best players you can find, right? And so that's how that process really changed in New Jersey. and that, by the way, that's how it is in California, and that's how it is in New York for the most part, at least Long Island and the city. And my guess is, even though Connecticut and Massachusetts are different as far as they have a lot of private schools, that are very, because of the whole,
Yep.
high
Like the prep
education
schoolish type of
prep.
thing.
They have a million
It's
of
different.
them,
It's different. Oh
but
yeah, millions.
but it's a
They're
different
one of the few
version of
states that
that.
actually have a lot of it. Correct. Right. Like even like if you look in the state if here, like with Hun and Petty and some of those Lawrenceville prep, like those guys are in their own little, like, you know what I mean? Like they're kind of separate from whatever the world is, because that's just how it is. But that's a lot of what like Connecticut is.
Absolutely, and I think that's
Although, look,
I
you
think
will
that,
find this interesting is I think RBC is going to play Hun this year.
I saw that. I think that was posted somewhere.
He may have pulled the trigger on it, because I know RBC was supposed to open up with DePaul.
It might have been
at
HUD
Monmouth.
that listed it on its schedule, maybe.
Hun was, so they were doing like a little of that. It was supposed to be at Monmouth U. Obviously, like we always know, like we've talked about it, like getting things to happen at Monmouth U, not because football doesn't want things going on there. It has nothing to do with football itself. It's just the school itself. It's a private institution, right? Like they don't, like, just whatever it is. It's always hard.
They don't have to do all that.
Correct.
Yeah.
Using that stuff as a site, like they don't need that, because it's still like to get in there, you just have to go through a process. So it is what it is. They're not looking for, enrollment to help enrollment. But I think just the him and Han of going back and forth and not being able to find a site or whatever. So I think that they're going to pull the trigger and play Hun, even though Hun doesn't participate in the state playoffs, right? But
So
for
what
him
would that mean?
to play,
What would,
so that like for him, you would still get almost like in terms of PowerPoints, right? Like you would still get kind of that, because when teams play out of state teams, right, they still take that out of state team and they still assign them a strength index based off how the size of the school, record, all that kind of stuff. So there's still some type of number attached to it, right? It's not just like a throwaway. So even in doing that, the same thing now happens when you're playing those, Hun, Petty, Blair, whatever it is, Lawrenceville, like there's still a number that gets assigned to that. So they would still get something out of it, right? It's not just like, oh, hey, we don't get anything. But I think more exposure and obviously talent, right? Because you're playing up against, D1 guys all over the place, is where he's looking for the benefit to happen. And to me, like, I think the greatest separator from those programs is depth, right? Because you go to Hun, there's however many guys on the roster and they're all Division I guys, but what's the 2 like? What's the 3 like, right? Like, are they still as talented as the 1? Because for most part, you're going there for only 1 or 2 years and then you're gone. You know what I mean? So are those younger guys that are under them, right? Is the depth there, basically, right? Whereas at an RBC, you're going to have young guys that are kind of getting developed. They're waiting in the weeds to kind of be the next guy, all those kind of things. Whereas I think at the Hun and those types of places, it's more of like a one-year wonder type gig. So I think it comes down to depth, but either way, it's really great, because I almost feel bad sometimes for some of those prep schools like Hun and that, like finding games and all that, because nobody in state wants to play them because it is what it is. You know what I mean? Like they feel like it's just not worth the squeeze. But I would love to see that, man. Like, let's get, because those guys are talented. I mean, shit, they had the #1 recruiters at USC right now. Like, like let's go play and let's dial that up and let's see where we stack up against it. So kudos to RBC for kind of reaching out and doing that. If it's official, like that's really cool. And we've talked to both head coaches. You know what I mean? Like we've talked to them. Shit. It's all high school football.
No doubt. No doubt about it. Very,
and
really
look,
good.
Dave, you want to send out your tape of like, hey, I just blocked the #1 outside linebacker in the country who's going to USC next year and I just pancaked them or something? Like you're thinking that guy doesn't want to put that on his tape? Come on.
Of course. Absolutely. That's going to be really good stuff. I mean, that'll be, so they can play them. I wonder if
it all comes. Listen, everything now within high school football in the state of Jersey comes down to strength index, right? So the team, even for me, right? Like the teams I play, if their SI number, strength index, is weak, whether I beat them or whether they beat me, you know what I'm saying? Like, so then it becomes all right, well, I beat this team at this strength index. The other team, may have lost to that other team that they're playing, but their SI is better than the team that I was playing. Like, they get more points. You know what I'm saying? Even in a loss.
Right.
So that's kind of where the whole scheduling is going to matter. And you hope that those teams that you're playing with a high SI, because they play really good teams, keep that year to year, right?
No doubt.
Otherwise, hey, what are we doing? Because look, you can go and win all your games, but if the teams that you're playing, their strength indexes are all low, you're still going to be a lower seed than someone that banged around with, somebody who was better and might have lost, but at least they're willing to roll the dice with a high strength index team. It's good. It's, how it is with PowerPoints and all that shit. You did it for a long time as a head coach, figure it out. Like, who's this, who's that, whatever, maneuvering. Like, it's wild system.
It's totally wild. It's really wild. It's good stuff. What was I gonna say? It's interesting. I just watched a bunch of stuff on recruiting with
Monday's going to be really good, man. Monday's going to be really good because we'll have, Joe Adam and Chad Brain. Coach Adam obviously is the head coach at St. Anselm. They're going from D2 to D3, and both of them want to come on and talk, transfer portal, recruiting, like all that stuff, to kind of like, hey, this is what it is. We're in it, boots on the ground, kind of let us tell it like it is. So Monday will be a really good one at 10 a.m. with those two guys. You're getting a head coach and a coordinator from St. Anselm's been a pretty good school the last couple of years, right? And, now a school that's going from 2 to 3, like, it'll be just good to hear some guys kind of talk about, everything. I think it'd be really good and informative for our viewer, not only us, but our viewers, right? Like shit, like we're going to get something out of it, but like you guys can hear it from firsthand, what's going on. Cause I think there is a little bit of back and forth with what's, what people understand, what people don't understand, what is okay, what is not okay, how guys approach it. And look, we know they're different because it's an academic university, you know what I'm saying? But
right,
like, just it's going to be good, really informative for everybody. Clear the air, you know what I mean? Like, hey, I know you hear this, but that's not really what that means. And, just kind of that stuff. So they're in the midst of camp season too. So be good to hear from those two guys.
very, very cool stuff. Yeah, that'll be awesome. All right. Well, then we're done for this week.
Another one, brother. Good God.
Yeah. Now at least we have some nicer weather. But
you're still going to be in a gym though.
What's that?
Said you'll still be in a gym. You got hoops this weekend?
I have I have hoops practice today, and then I have a game Mother's Day at night, though, not till the nighttime.
Oh, nice. I'm sure the moms love that.
It's not till the night. It's not till 7. So
brunch it. Everybody's got to brunch it.
Yeah, I think we should be okay from that standpoint. But for the most part, because by the end of the day, they're looking to do something with the kids. But yeah, we'll go from there. On Saturday, I probably have a baseball game. Saturday, I don't think we have one today. Probably have one Saturday. But yeah, it's constantly rolling. But once we, actually in a couple of weeks, other than me doing basketball, it'll probably all come to a halt basically, and then we'll do lacrosse.
At least you'll get like right.
Then we got lacrosse, which is a totally different shift because.
Oh hell yeah!
I don't know if we've picked up a lacrosse stick since last year, so we'll see if genetics can take over a little bit and get them ready in a couple of weeks for that. Just so you're ready to go. The other part of the game, which is other than the defense and moving, that's like any other sport. But It's
Right, the skill stuff though, bro. It's the skill stuff, like
skill.
the
It's
stick
skill.
handling, right? Like the shooting, all that stuff. Like it's like rolling into basketball practice and you didn't take a shot or haven't dribbled in God knows how long, or baseball where you haven't taken a swing or caught anything in months. You know what I'm saying? It's tough. You gotta it's really hard to keep up with everything, dude. I don't know how he does it, honestly. Like I get the running and stuff is all part of it, and I get all that, but like shit, man. That's being that skill
Well, the
stuff.
running,
God
that's the
damn.
good thing about running. That's just part of everything. So,
Right. That's never going to be the issue.
yeah, that's not going to be the issue, but it's, I mean, the middle school kids we have in track and they don't all make it to practice all the time, but man, are they good. Like,
Yeah.
it's amazing to see when that's why I know, the feed cats thing is a longevity, a long-term play. But really, with kids who haven't done stuff that are good athletes, they have an initial burst of success with it. It'll
Yeah,
plateau,
shit.
is my guess, after you get to a certain point, and then you have to keep, stimulating and pushing it through. But they get a burst of success because they had never done the all out and timing and all that kind of stuff, and in and outs and accelerators. They hadn't done any of that stuff, so like a good athlete like makes a lot of like initially in the first 4 weeks probably makes a large amount of progress, and then there comes a point where then you got to keep um doing all the things necessary, because then your improvements don't come as radical. They come over time, little by little. But it's interesting to see how fast, with kids that are already talented,
Of
uh,
course. Game
it's
changer,
very
brother. Game
it's
changer.
very, very interesting, because the old way, or not the old way, but a lot of I won't say old, they still sprinted, but it took
Yeah, it was
longer.
just different, dude. It was just
It
different.
took longer. You didn't get that burst of improvement in the first four
No.
weeks because
And
you're
I think,
wearing them
honestly,
down. You're
but I
wearing them
think kids
down.
are developing at a younger age anyway, dude. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I see
Maybe,
kids
yeah.
now, like
Definitely
to me, it's
girls.
just, dude, that's a whole different like slew. But I'm just saying, like, there are now, like, just overall, like, just coordination and all of those things
Yeah.
I think are
Oh,
just
yeah.
happening at such a younger age now, man. Like, you could put a bunch of second graders on a ladder and some of them have probably already done it. You know what I'm saying? Or just things like that. Like, I remember the ladder having to be something that was taught to you as a freshman. Now these guys are doing that thing in elementary school, right? Like it's I think the overall, and I don't think it's like just the overall like maturation of young kids happens at such a younger age because they're just in it more. They're doing stuff like you said. Like, we used to go outside and just run around, and you figured out how to not to fall because you fell. Right now, these kids are like formally being taught certain things, jumping or just overall movement stuff at such a younger age that it's just happening quicker, man.
It really, really is happening quicker. It's
We've sped up the process.
well, yeah, and that's why
But it's also why burnout is such a big thing now too, though. By the time they get to high school, they're shot. They've been doing this for so long.
right. The injuries, you want to prevent the injury problem.
That too.
That's part of it.
The wear and tear on the same thing over and over and over, bro.
Yeah, there's definitely a part of that. That
why
is
these NBA guys are blowing Achilles like it's a freaking, you know what I'm saying? Like, or it used to be football with ACLs and all that kind of stuff, man. Like, happening because you're using the same muscles over and over and over and over and over. I had it yesterday in our flag game. Girl on the opponent, the girl on the other team, she blitzed. She missed the quarterback's flag. She went to plant, stuck her foot in the turf to go like turn and go get it. ACL done. You know what I mean? Like, just is what it was. Like, regular movement.
on your team.
No, on the opponent. Like, I felt bad, poor girl. Yeah, and it was like one of those like, ooh, you knew it. You know what I mean? Like, ooh. So sucks, but it's just, shit.
Who'd you guys play? How'd you guys do?
We lost 13-6 to Mana Squad. Tough one.
Okay. You're you have a lot of younger
Inside
kids,
the
right?
oh yeah. We have a lot. And we had a girl go down. That didn't help, right? But look, it is what it is. You're inside the 23 times, you got to score. Come away with no points. Quarterback makes a difference, buddy. We both know that.
Right. And you had okay.
Oh
yeah, that makes sense.
We're like piecing it together. Look, there was one thing that I think it's definitely this. It's not only like just with the girls, but just young quarterbacks in general of like knowing when to throw a receiver, like when to throw it, right? Like, and it's really hard for them. They wait, they hold it, they wait for the receiver to be open. And then, you know what I'm saying? Like, man, if you throw it when that break is coming or throw it before they get their head back around, like you can really make it. You don't have to have that strong of an arm to get that done. But it's something that's really hard to teach young quarterbacks of when to throw it, right? And they get nervous trying to throw it before the receiver is quote open or before they're looking or any of those types of things. I don't know if you've seen it with your young QBs, but it's definitely something that I've seen, right? And to me, it's probably one of the, if not the biggest jump that they have to get over or hurdle that they need to clear before they can really be a higher level quarterback is you got to throw it before they're open.
Yes, 100%. That is always an issue. It takes time.
I know. I think that's really what it is. It's time. It's they have to actually do it, and it has to be successful, right? Like that receiver now has to go and catch that ball that they threw early and know it. And then I think the other part is they get deterred because not all receivers are that good to catch it when the ball is out before they're looking back or see it, right? So they throw to one who catches it. Okay, I can do that. Then they go and do it with somebody else. That person doesn't catch it or it flies by their head, whatever. Now it's like, oh, see, that's why I do it, right?
That's why I do it. He's not open,
right. He's not, hey, I'm not throwing it to that person because I know she's not going to catch it or he's not going to catch it. Like they start to pick because, it's just, it's a, hey, like you have to throw it. She's never going to catch it if you don't give her an opportunity to. Oh, but every time I throw her, she drops it. But she's never going to get over that unless she catches it or you throw it. She's not going to have that opportunity. So you have to trust it. Like we'll have girls wide open all over the place, but I'm not going to throw it because she's going to drop it. And I'm not saying she's wrong because she probably is going to drop it. But until she catches it and gets that confidence, like, what are we going to do here? You know what I mean? Like you're banging your head on the wall. And then the situational stuff, but that you deal with that at higher levels, all that kind of stuff of like, hey, it's 3rd and 5 and you ran a 2-yard route. Like we've talked about pushing that to the sticks and getting beyond it so that when you catch it and your flag gets pulled, you're there. Or, hey, it's 4th and goal from the 10. You can take a shot here. If you throw an interception, that's okay. We need to get it in the end zone, like some of those type of things. But I think that's just development, right? And you just try to keep the girls aware and teach it. And like I said, we're really, really young and shit. I was just happy yesterday that we caught every punt that was punted. That was like that was unbelievable, right? Girls were actually catching punts and going. Whereas any game before that, we weren't catching punts. Like let it hit and roll. And oh my God. But it's some of those things that need to be worked out. We're like I said, we're young, but we're really good at pulling flags. We're aggressive. Our girls are willing to stick in there and freaking battle. So, and now with it being a real sport, man, like there'll be an off season. You know what I mean? Like they're itching for some of that stuff. Like I think it's just going to be an overall different mindset. Whereas some teams, it's going to be the other way. You have some really, really good teams that aren't going to be programs because they won't have enough girls because their girls are all really good at other sports. So that's unfortunate with what's, the evolution of it, but at the same time, it's only going to add more teams to it.
Right.
Barnegat ended up winning our division. They beat Pinelands yesterday in a 1 versus 2 battle, 14-7. So, and they're freaking talented, that's for sure. But that's who won the South Division anyway. And now they'll go into like a playoffs where I think it's like, top couple teams in the divisions will, play some playoff games and then kind of go from there. But, it's still a different world up there.
Oh, there you are. Sorry.
Sorry. I was like, oh shit, I lost them.
Oh yeah, I jumped. It jumped. The phone jumped off.
Yeah, it always cuts out. No, it's all good. Yeah, like I said, it's just overall development, buddy. Yeah, man, appreciate it. It's good. I mean, look, I like it. It's just it's still up north is so separated too, though. Like it's, what I mean? Like they've been doing it for so much longer. They've been playing the same type of rules. I think the rules this year were a real adjustment for a lot of girls, right? The ability to, blitz everybody from the jump. I think it forced a lot of coaches to be uncomfortable and you really had to hammer things down. I mean, all the way to like how you snap it, right? Because like if that's a lollipop type of snap, those girls are in the backfield right now pulling your flag before you even get close to a play. You know what I'm saying? So
right.
I think that which good, bad, indifferent, the rules are what they are. Like you got to freaking figure it out. But then, then it comes down to, okay, well then how are you going to define blocking, right? Like, like Manasquan yesterday was putting, 5 girls in the middle of the field. Like there were 2 guards, 2 tackles and running power for Christ's sakes. You know what I'm saying? Like, how do you defend that when the rule is by definition, you have to avoid the blocker? It's the defense's job to avoid. But if you're going 4 at 5 in the middle and you try to avoid, the only place to avoid is outside of everything. And now they can just run behind those girls. So, there's like a lot of gray area, but listen, you and I both know like what wins games, like players. So when you're talented and you have some athletes, like it don't matter what anybody's doing. Like, oh, no. She's 6'3", throw it up and go get it. Okay. Touchdown. Right. Like, oh, she can run. Okay. Let's go do it. So, but I love it. It's fun, dude. It's a lot of fun.
Well, athletes always are they're
the catalyst, buddy.
They're the catalyst. It's there's no doubt, it's something that will never, in my opinion, like you can really like when I watch coaches, I watch,
oh god,
just how they
and the coaches are funny with this, bro.
Are they really?
Oh, dude. Like it was awesome yesterday because
does everybody take it? What's his name? The coach of that team?
RJ Reed does Manasquan, so it was awesome because like we're tight and it's like we're both on the same page when it comes to it and all that. So it's fun coaching against guys like that, right? That understand, like, dude, like okay, we both want to win, but it's about like our players, the girls, right? Like just developing them overall and stuff like that. And you're talking for him personally, like. His team, like he had 12 girls yesterday, and that's what they've rolled with all year because that's just the number because so many girls do other things. That's what it was, right? So, you're talking getting blown out in games where he's like, hey, coach with the opponent, like I'm putting in my younger girls just so you know, right? Like you're already up by 3 touchdowns. Like this is what's happening. Cool. Okay, coach. Yeah. I'll do the same. And then you roll out there and you blitz the house and you freaking, you know what I mean? You're slinging it all over still. Like, what are we trying to do here? Because why? Well, point differential comes down to it. So now, even though like, what are we teaching? You know what I'm saying? Like, all right, I get you want to score a million gazillion points because at some point it could help you, right, in the quote unquote playoffs. But really, like, that's how you want to do it. That's what you want to teach. You know what I mean? Like, some of that's, I guess it's part of it, but we don't have to do it that way. You know?
So they also point differential dictates who gets in.
It like factors into if it comes down to it, right? Like it's record, it's head to head, and then it's point. So now people are literally like, you know, oh, it's the 4th quarter and I'm up by 3 touchdowns, but I could get another one, right? So okay, let me, you know, do this. And now it's like, all right, really? Like, okay, come on. So some of that's a little tough, man.
That bothers you.
But
yeah.
Well, it bothers me because it's like now, like who's
unnecessary,
unnecessary. Like, you know, it just, because now look, now the girls are like, well, what the, you know what I mean? Like and I get it. You want to build resilience, or, hey, if you don't like them scoring, stop them. Right. But at some point, it's
when there's a difference in level, a clear difference,
a clearly bona fide, like, dude, we know you're better. Right. Like, I got it. You don't need to still be bringing ridiculous pressure or
right.
Or dancing all over the place to like think our girls are going to like fall for you twisting up front. Like, they don't care, dude. If anything, they're going to be more pissed that you're still doing this, whatever. And they're going to like hurt you because I have girls that would hurt you, you know, like they don't care. Like, that's how they are. They're gritty. That's what, you know, that's kind of one of the bonuses to being where I'm at, is that's just the type of, you know, kid and girl that I get, is they are tough as nails and they don't really care, right? Like who you are or what you are or your record or any of that shit. They don't really care. They'll mix it up. If it was the tackle league, dude, we'd be dominant because our girls are uber physical, bro. Like uber physical. Like they're not intimidated by how good you are. They might miss, but they're gonna, when they pull flags, like bodies move. You know what I'm saying, dude? Like, or if they quote block, like you're getting moved. Like it's just, they don't take it. You can try and press them. They're gonna like throw you by. Stuff like that. But it's really hard when the guy on the other side is just like, you know, or they're so vocal about it, right? Like, come on, keep it going. Like, what are we doing? Like, yada, yada. It's like, dude, like you're rubbing salt in the wound. And I'm not ever one to like complain about any of that because look, we just have to get better. But at the same time, it's like, come on, man. Like, there's no need to do that. Like, what are you really teaching your girls to do? Like to totally bury somebody when they're like down and out? Like, I don't know. I get it, but I don't.
Perfect sense. I mean, it's
if I was on the other side, I don't think I wouldn't do it. And it's literally something that my head coach and I have like talked about, and they're like, you know, are we wrong because we like aren't doing that? You know what I'm saying? Like, are we putting our girls in a spot because of it? But you know, we both came to the decision that no, like that we're not. Like, we're trying to teach our girls so much more than just what a scoreboard says, like about life in general. Like, we'll hold our hat on that. You know what I'm saying? Like, we don't need to be that person or those type of guys. Like, that's not what we're about. And that was cool. I'm cool with that. Right.
Yeah, no doubt. That's it's interesting that that's the process.
Just take the point differential out of it, right? And then maybe we don't have that issue.
Oh, 100%. If you did that, well, I guess what are they trying to do, like tiebreakers or something? Or
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, because it's like record, right, is the first like standard. Then you go to head to head, right, and then if it, like I said, if it gets to that third level, it's point differential. Kind of like our tournaments in the seeding. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Well, it's interesting if they'll keep that the same in
and we had and two of the refs were guys that we've had the last 2 weekends. So It was your butt. It was the one that texted you and was like, "Hey, what the hell? I don't get the call." It was that pairing that were over on, I think, field 2 last week. So they did the game, which is it's always funny when they do the game.
That's interesting.
They
That's
love
really,
it though, dude.
They do.
Yeah, they're actually but they're good because they like they'll talk you through it, right? Like they'll help. They'll educate the girls on what it actually is. They'll educate the coaches on what it needs to be, or they'll take feedback like, "Hey, this is what they said, blah, blah, blah. Okay, no, it's this," right? Like we're all working collectively to make this a really, really good thing next year when it becomes like real. And then some guys aren't like that. They're just kind of out there for a check and figure, you know what I mean? Like all that kind of nonsense. But it's always good to have those two guys who, they explain it to the girls and help them or help coaches. Because we got to all just freaking educate ourselves better so we know.
No doubt. I agree with you. I think that's a big deal, especially since it's going to be a, what do you call it, sport next year, right?
Freaking real deal, man.
Yeah, it's going to be the real deal. That's
Playoffs,
going to be cool.
You know what I'm saying? State championships. Oh, dude, it's watching up north do it is going to be unbelievable because, you watch their tapes compared to our tape. It's like, woof, buddy,
Really?
Shit. Oh, no, it's whew. Like West Orange just played Mount Olive the other day. Both teams were undefeated. I mean, it was like watching, holy, right? Like West Orange just smoked DePaul 19-0, and DePaul has like 2 losses. You know what I mean? Like it's been watching those teams that have been doing it for Passaic County Tech. Like they're unbelievable, dude. And it's not
Passaic County
players.
Tech?
Like they have players, but on top of it, like they've been coached up. Like you can see it. And the girls, like it is end all be all. And this is only when it's a club. So when it becomes real, good God.
No doubt. Interesting.
All right, buddy.
It's really, really interesting. The whole, that whole process of what they're doing with it. Is there another state that has it or no?
What? Oh yeah, dude. We're the 19th state to adopt it. There's 19 other states that have been doing all this stuff.
There is. Really?
Oh yeah. More and more every year too. That's why the college world is becoming a bigger deal. You know what I'm saying? Because now if you're playing it in high school and you can go so if I'm a college, I'm going to look to girls that have actually played already in high school in a formal setting, right? Why wouldn't you? That's what you're going to recruit. So just keep building. Yeah, buddy.
All right, man.
Sounds good,
Great
man.
stuff.
Enjoy the weekend.
Enjoy. It's a little relaxing not having an event.
I mean, damn, yeah, because we always hit that 2 month of tournament almost every weekend.
I know, it's wild. It's good. It feels good to have a little break.
All right, man. I'll talk to you. Have a good weekend.
Man. All right, have a great one. Bye.